Morning. Are you coming in then?
Good morning, and what a show we got lined up for you today. Today's going to be a good one. We got champion long jumper Greg Rutherford will be here. He'll be telling us all about the new series of Dancing on Ice and enjoying a dish of koji beef, as well as a classic chicken chasseur. We've got an incredible dish of noodles from a good friend of the show. Jonathan Pang will be back as well. And I'm heading off to San Sebastian, that amazing city in Spain, for another one of my food adventures. But don't miss this week's Little Masterclass as well. I'll be giving you an essential guide in making your own stocks at home. And if that's not a cooking lesson enough, then we're joined in the right place by the right lady in the house, because she's got the most amazing cookery school of her own. It's the brilliant Leslie Waters.
Thank
welcome
you.
back, welcome back.
Fab to be here.
What are you teaching us then? What are you going to be doing today then?
Well, I'm going to do something that's like a big hug. I'm going to make a very, very hot roasted chilli to go with skinny chips, quick homemade burgers, sour cream and guacamole.
So it's like a sloppy Giuseppe sort of thing.
It's like a kind of deconstructed, I hate that term, chili con carne, basically.
Sounds pretty good, sounds pretty good, pretty good. Right, but I thought I'd kick things off today with a recipe for blackberry and blackcurrant delice that I'm making using some of this amazing liqueur from a distillery on the east coast of Scotland, which I'm going to introduce you into in a minute. But the first thing we're going to do is talk about a delice. So the first thing we need to do for that is set our gelatine bit, our custard part of it. So for that, I'm going to use some leaves of gelatine over here. Now, this is where times have changed, Leslie, as you know. We've been doing this TV for quite a long time. Gelatine's changed as well, not in terms of the structure of which it's made, but ye old cookbooks will tell you this is gelatine now, this is what it used to be. So on all cookery books, you need to adapt this. So gelatine is now half the size, roughly. It's definitely not twice as thick. It's half the size. So although recipes tell you to use one leaf, you need to really check the pack of the packet. So for this one, I'm going to use 5 leaves of this classic gelatine, which I've got over here.
And this is the stuff to use, isn't it?
I think so. Or you need 10 of these leaves over here to set this custard. What you need to do then is, so for a delice is different layers. Now, it can be different flavours, but it's usually sponge base together with sort of a sort of soft, moussey filling. And you get that mousse by making custard and then whipping up some double cream and then adding the puree. But nowadays, we're going to cheat, Leslie, for this one.
There's nothing wrong in cheating.
We're going to use this ready-made custard, so this fresh ready...
Which is actually very good.
It's really good. It stabilises. This is brilliant, because not only is it good for this, if you want to do a souffle, this is fantastic to use as a base for a souffle.
Is it thick enough, yeah?
If you use that for a base for a souffle, add some orange or lemon zest and fold in egg whites, it will make a souffle. You can have that one for your cookery school as well.
Thank you. There's another one
She's
I can
clocking these ideas already. But look, what you want to do with the gelatine, first of all, is you want to basically soften it in cold water. So this sits in here. I would always try, I don't know about you, try and use the leaf gelatine as opposed to the powdered gelatine.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, the powder's OK, but this stuff you can rely on. I think
it's getting the amount right, isn't it, really, with the powdered? Yeah. It's quite tricky to get that.
Sponging it correctly and all that jazz.
Exactly, but you want to make sure, really, it's nice and softened like this. So you get the gelatine like this. Once it's softened, we're going to add that to the hot custard. This then mixes together, and you need to then dissolve this together. You can only dissolve it in hot liquid, which is that. Now, once it's dissolved, we can then think about adding the rest of it. Now, I've not added all my custard for this, otherwise we have to wait for it to cool down.
Ages to cool, yeah.
So you add half the custard to the mixture, which that is. You can see the gelatine's all dissolved in there. Then we add the other half of the custard in there.
I love custard.
It is delicious, isn't it? And then we're going to add liqueur. Now, I say liqueur as a combination of liqueur and a fruit puree. So whatever delice you want, you kind of match that with liqueur. But I'm going to use the blackberry liqueur and the blackcurrant. It's up to you. Blackcurrant liqueur, blackberries, it's up to you. But you take a puree of whatever you want to put in this. This is a little bit of the blackberries that we've got over there, which I've basically just blended, put in a puree. If you want to do a raspberry one, it's raspberry. You just mix this together. And then you get this glorious colour. Now, into there, we're going to add some whipped cream in a second, but that's the basis, really, of our nice delice, really, with some whipped cream that I'm going to whip up and add that to it. And we're going to use a nice little bit of sponge base, so I'm going to slightly whip this. It's important not to over-whip the cream, because ideally what you want for this is all the same textures. Your cream should be the same texture of this mixture over here. So I'm going to turn this off. That's not on anymore. We've got the cream whipping up. Now for our sponge base, we're also going to cheat. We're going to use a Madeira...
I'm liking this recipe even more.
We're going to use a Madeira cake. There's no point making a sponge for this because we're only going to use a small amount of it. If you take a Madeira cake like this and thinly slice it, and we're going to use this as a little base for our nice little
It's got a great texture, hasn't it, for getting that beautiful thin slice?
I think for something like this, it's kind of perfect, really. Yeah. Probably not use the paper that's still on the bottom of it.
That's the sort of thing I do.
I use this all the time. But look...
je ne sais quoi.
But look, you're just going to take this. Now, we wanted to introduce to this these liqueurs that I'm going to turn my attention to now, because doing these sort of food festivals, and as we all know, we've got food festivals all over the UK. 2024, there'll be more food festivals than anywhere else. But when I was up in Scotland last year, I met these amazing ladies. So we're going to introduce you now to Keisha and her daughter, Mary McDougall, from the Tayport Distillery. They're waving there. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Hello.
Now, I was walking around this amazing... It was the Taste of Grampian, way up in the north of Scotland. While I was walking around there, you kindly just shoved some liqueur straight in my face. It was at 8:30 in the morning. I had a little taste of it. It stopped me in my tracks. We then turned around, exchanged details, and now you're on the show. That's how it works. That's how it works. But you've got an amazing story, really, first of all. So tell us, Keisha, how did it all start? Because you were a nurse.
Yes, I was a nurse in the NHS for 25 years.
Yeah.
Decided, well, I had a little hobby on the side, and I was working away at it at home, and my husband said, well, I think you might have something here. And the whole focus of the project was really trying to use surplus fruit, because we have so much of it here that goes to waste. So I took the leap, and I left nursing and started the business up. We started off with a slightly different product, but that, I would say, didn't take off as much as...
It was quite a quirky product. It was something called an eau de vie, but the idea was that, like you said...
Yes.
So we're using... Carry on, sorry.
No, does it mean water of life, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly.
It meant a lot of things to Keisha at that particular time. You're doing this in your garage.
Yes, exactly.
This is like Scottish moonshine, wasn't it?
It really was.
Love this. So
well, my dad...
Who was the taster? Who were you making it for? Was that personal consumption? Of course it was.
Yes, definitely personal consumption. But yeah, I was just interested. Always liked cooking, and I thought, well, we'll just take this a step further. And I was just experimenting with so many different things that, like I said, are on the doorstep. The eau de vie, it was an interesting product, but it's not something that's well understood. So the next logical step was the liqueurs. And I started off with the blackcurrant, actually. A local friend who's a farmer called me and said, hey, Keisha, I've got, a small crate of blackcurrants that are going to go to waste if you want to try something with them. And I thought he meant like a box crate. And I arrived and it was like 375 kilograms. So I decided I quickly have to go and get some freezers and put these, because I couldn't see it go to waste. So I froze all these blackcurrants until I decided that I was going to try to do the cassis liqueur.
So this is the one that we're trying now, the blackcurrant. So explain to us what goes in it, really. So what do you start off with? Once you finish playing around with your eau de vie, you decide to do it properly. What have we got here then? What's the basis of this?
So you've got, it's a vodka base, essentially. We produce our own vodka here in Tayport as well. So we produce that from malt barley. But it's a vodka base, and then we soak our blackcurrants in for probably about 2 to 3 weeks, and that's what gives it its gorgeous colour as well. It's very rich.
And the smell, even before you drink it, is fantastic.
Even at 8:30 in the morning, Leslie, it stopped me in the tracks, to be honest, walking around this festival. What is it? It is, I mean, you've got an amazing base there, but it's the fruit, really.
The fruit that really...
Well, exactly.
It really comes through. With a tiny bit of alcohol, but the fruit really does.
Yeah. So the blackcurrants that we use are called Ben Tirin blackcurrants. So that's the variety that we use. But we do believe that it's the microclimate that we're in this area that gives all of the fruit its fantastic flavour. So even though it's surplus and like is going to waste, it's still got all of this really lovely flavour.
I mean, that just poured over ice cream would be
Well, we're just about to use it now. So I know these ladies are going to be watching this recipe, so you can have a look at this. So this is the blackberries that I've got, not blackcurrant. You can do it with blackcurrant. So I'm going to use some of this liqueur in here. That's going to flavour our mixture. And then I'm going to take some cream. So the cream needs to be obviously about the same sort of texture.
Yeah.
Really, you see that? And we add the cream to our mixture, which is going to go in there. And then, rather than use a spatula, what I tend to use is use a whisk, because it's much quicker.
Right, OK.
So
you can get it in with the gelatine.
Yeah, you want to get this mixture in as quick as possible.
So
and by
cold
doing
going in there is
going to help. You see how quickly
it
is?
Yeah.
And once you get the majority of it in,
yeah,
then we can turn our attention to our spatula.
Yeah, that's a good tip.
And then we've mixed that all in. And then bring it from the bottom to the top. And this creates our little mousse. I don't know if you can see that, ladies, but whether I'm not doing this justice... There we go. And then you want to make sure that once I've taken your lovely liqueur and I've just taken that over my Madeira cake once I've removed the paper over the top. And then we pour this in here.
Starting
now,
a new trend.
When you're pouring it, if you've got any left over, don't fill it right up. Take it to about a couple of mil before the top of the ring, like that. Make sure you've got a decent amount in there. But then make sure it's flat. And then, if you've got any left over, put it in a glass, because this is brilliant. You can actually do this as 2 desserts. Pop that in a glass. Pop that in the fridge. And what we end up with, is I'll bring one out, just to show you. We end up with this. Once it's set. Pop it in the fridge, leave it to set for a good hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. And we end up with this. Now, what I've done is I've taken a puree, and I've taken the same puree with some of your liqueur as well, added a little bit of gelatine, and then we take this... And this is going to set like a jelly. So you take this mixture over the top and you pour that onto there. Now, if you've got any bubbles appearing on here, there is a way to get rid of the bubbles. And see the bubble there? If you take a blowtorch...
Top tip.
Just go over the top.
Can you tell the way I've just absorbed that?
And it just goes over the top.
It's going in my new book.
It gives you a really shiny top, just lightly, quickly over the top, and it makes sure it's like a mirror over the top. It's just a great way to finish off any jellies. Gets rid of any bubbles, lemon tarts, and exactly the same sort of thing. So I'm going to put this back in the fridge. But tell us, so when you got the fruit and bits and pieces, it's in there for 3 weeks. How do you end up making the liqueur that you've got in here? Is it just a combination of combining things together?
Yeah, I mean...
So we simply just press it out from that point. We've got all that fruit flavour, and then we'll basically put it through a filter 3 times. So obviously with lots of fruit, you have loads of residue. Raspberries are the worst.
Are they?
Yeah, raspberries. We've got
just
a raspberry liqueur as well, and it's just the sediment in it is really difficult to get all of that residue out. But for us, it's really important that it's a clear product. We just think it adds, especially in the product that you're making there, it's really nice and clear and clean. So that's what we wanted to portray, basically. So we'll filter it 3 times, we'll bottle it, label and wax it all ourselves in the distillery.
Yeah. We do obviously sweeten the liqueur, but I was going to say, you know, when we make the liqueur, we're using about 250 kilograms of fruit to 250 litres of alcohol. So it is sort of a proper half and half mix.
So I'm just going to show you, just finish up. This is the final one you've got in here. So once you've done all these layers, this is what it looks like. Really, it's nice and simple.
Looks lovely.
And then to finish it off, we're going to take a hot knife, and you want a hot knife, but you want a dry knife, and you cut in the centre, straight through the middle. And it's important, before you make the next step, you clean the knife. So hot knife again.
I like that knife.
Dry knife.
It's a beautiful knife.
And then you put that, because it just gets a nice clean cut.
Gosh, yeah.
And then, hopefully, when you lift this off, you then lift it off and it's a delice.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Amazing.
Never lost it. Some people are saying never had it in the first place, but never lost it.
We'll be having this on Burns night.
Yes.
And then you got, it's a wonderful little, and I was trying to think of what to do with your liqueur, but the great thing about this, you can make a coffee one. You can use chocolate cake on the bottom, you can use coffee cake as well, and then you take a nice little bit of double cream, sits on the side there, like that. And then decorate
Good at
that.
quenelles, aren't you?
Sorry?
You're really good at quenelles.
Kind of. My chefs would say, no, keep James. I'm not. My chefs are usually better than this at quenelles, to be honest with you. I'm not. My chefs are much better than me because they've got far more practice with it. And you actually have a particular spoon.
Yes, I know you can.
They call it a Rocher spoon.
You can buy them online now, can't you?
Yeah, it depends on how old you are, whether you call it a Rocher or quenelle, but
What does Rocher mean?
it means a quenelle. That's what it means. I keep telling everybody. Keep telling the chefs as well.
Wow.
But that's kind of... I think that does it justice, hopefully, ladies. I think from meeting you at a food festival to here, and you kindly sent down your amazing liqueur, I wish you all the best with it, because people are after... People after liqueur, like you said at the beginning of it, top it with ice cream. I think it's delicious. Or you do a little bit fancy like that. Either way, you've got a great product, and I wish you all the best with it. Thank you very much. How good does that? There you have it, my simple little delice using this amazing liqueur. Done. Leslie, do you want that one?
You know me too well.
I do. We'll dive into that. What do you think? Like I said, if you have any left over, just in a glass like this, they're just great with a little bit. You don't have to put the jelly on the top. It's entirely up to you, but I just think it looks either nice. But with that little liqueur in there as well, I think that's so simple.
That's horrible. It's delicious. Really.
But using the Madeira cake takes so much stress away from it. You don't want to even make a cake just for a little bit.
Using the custard, and it just makes it so much easier.
Yeah. Right, now I'll be treating Dancing on Ice Greg Rutherford to a beef dish. That's coming up shortly. And don't miss this week's Little Masterclass, and I'll be making stocks. That's coming up a little bit later. But join us again after the break, where Leslie and I will be trying to solve some of your kitchen dilemmas. I'll see you after the break. Welcome back. Now we're cooking a first course of beef for Olympic legend Greg Rutherford. That's coming up a little bit later. And I'll be teaching you how to make your own stocks in this week's Little Masterclass. But before that, I'm here with a good friend of mine and the show, Leslie Waters, and we thought I'd take a look at some of the dishes you've been cooking at home, because you like these ones. I know you like these ones as well. Okay. So first up, a big well done goes to Sophie Luke in Devon, who was inspired by one of my masterclasses to have a go at making her very own tart tan. Look at that.
Lovely does that
Looks like it's been made out of pears. I did an apple one as well, but remember, it's all about that butter and the sugar and caramelising it. It takes about a good 45 minutes to an hour, but it's worth the effort, as you can see there, Sophie. Next up, we've got Angela Brown, who made this stunning Black Forest Gatter. Wow. How good does that look?
That is impressive.
Pretty impressive, isn't it? Everybody wants to be bakers nowadays, you see. There we go. And talking about impressive, check out this. Finally, top marks this week goes to the brilliant Nick Scott in Cornwall, who made these hand-raised pork pies. Now, Knox Majosi made these a few months back in October. Brilliant stuff there, Nick. They're not easy thing to get right as well. I know you've got a cookery school.
And also, looking at that, the pastry isn't too thick, is it? That's the beauty of those. They look stunning.
They look fantastic. Well worth the effort. Right, as well as your photographs, we had loads of questions about food and cooking, so I thought I'd answer a few of them right now. So this is like a cookery question time for chefs, all right? Okay. Is that all right? So I'm going to put my glasses on for this. We're going to get serious. Right, first of all, Max. How do I get my American-style pancakes super fluffy? I've heard we're using buttermilk. Is that a thing? How would you get them lighter? Probably egg whites, no?
Well, actually, I think you use self-raising flour and baking powder. Okay. And I often will use buttermilk or a bit of yoghurt as well. Okay. And another tip is not to cook them too many in a pan. Yeah. So if you've got a normal-sized frying pan, 3. Yeah. And then a big tip to make them even more delicious is to slice some banana. This is what I had in Thailand. And pop the sliced banana on the uncooked side and then flip it over so that they caramelise, and they are fab.
We've got one from Julie over here. Makes beef Wellingtons, but doesn't want the base to go soggy. Do you want me to answer that one?
You answer that.
I would cook the beef beforehand. I would seal the beef, I would cook it, I would allow it to go cold, and I would assemble it using the cooked beef. I would never, ever use raw beef in a beef Wellington. That would be me. So I would seal it all off, cook it for a good 20 minutes, and then let it go cold, and then utilise that, and then make sure it's really important that your duxelle, your mushroom duxelle, and your spinach is dry. You use pancakes if you want to, but then when you do the pastry, you can as well, if you wanted to, preheat the tray in the oven. So you can have the beef Wellington in the fridge, cold, and then you just lift that out, put a hot tray in the oven with some paper on it, and just lift off the beef Wellington, put it onto the hot tray, and then put it straight in the oven. And that way the base will actually start to cook before the outside of it.
Yes, and the other way is if you bake the pastry bottom first, so that you've got like almost a crisp.
Yeah, you can do that as a piece.
You can do that as a piece.
I would do that hot tray. That would be mine.
Yeah.
Right, I was inspired by your Spanish series. I want to buy a leg of Iberico ham. Have you got any tips of the right way to carve it? Iberico ham is amazing as well. It's far cheaper in Spain than you get over here. But the key to this really is using a ham knife. It's called a Serrano ham knife or Iberico ham knife. It's a long, thin blade that's not serrated, and that's the blade that you want. So you want to go out and try and get one. You'll be able to get one online. They're not expensive. Make sure it's really sharp, and then you carve it. You're never going to get slices out of it like the Serrano ham or Parma ham, because the nature of what the Iberico is. It's the black-footed pig. It's like a wild boar, and it's a much smaller carcass. It's a very different sort of beast as well. So what you want to do is that you'll only get little pieces out of it. You'll get probably a little, maybe 3 or 4 inches. That's about maximum you're going to get out of it because it's very muscular, but just carve it. And remember, if you're taking the fat out, keep the fat as well, because you can utilise that. If you can break that down in a pan, it's brilliant for roasted potatoes as well. And stuff
how good would that taste?
You can chop it all up as well. That's absolutely delicious. So that's that one. Right, Lesley, you've got any good vegan recipes that you can try in the kitchen this veganuary? So this is from Aaron from Sussex. Vegan recipes?
Well, I'm doing one in a moment, actually. Even though it's served with beef, I often do it because everyone can enjoy the roasted chili, which is served with guac.
Okay.
And it is... You'll love it. It's a chili, but it's roasted. It's seriously hot, and it's a great vegan dish. It really is.
Very good. And then Samantha Stewart. I'm a complete beginner in the kitchen. My New Year's resolution is to become a better cook. Have you got any tips of how I can improve and start this journey? Delicious recipes to start with. Samantha Stewart, where can you start?
I think you have to start at the beginning, but cook simple things like eggs, get the feeling of it. Do
confidence as well, isn't it?
It is confidence, and don't be afraid. Keep it simple, keep it good.
There you go. So we've got Mark Tranis. There we go. Mark would like to know, I want to buy some new knives. Didn't know what to go for. The essential type of knives that every cook should have. I think really it's done on budget, really, and it's done.
And you don't have to have the whole set, do you?
3 or 4 is what you need, really. We talked about a special knife in the Iberico. That's a bit different, but 3 or 4 knives, a chef's knife, a long one. Remember, the larger the knife, the better it is, because you have probably less pressure, so you're not going to cut yourself. You wouldn't necessarily cut vegetables with a small knife. That's where accidents can happen.
Yes.
But really, it's done on budget. I think the best way to do that is go into a really good knife shop, especially the store, really, is what you want, and then pick up one, grab it in your hand, and if it feels nice...
They might not all be the same make for different knives.
And they're different handles, they're different, they're made out of different things, and now you're going to dishwasher it, then if you're going to put it in the dishwasher, you know that you can't buy the wooden handles, all this sort of stuff. So it's really just understanding what you want it for and then go from there. So all knives I would basically hand wash, and then make sure you oil them and make sure you sharpen the sharpener.
Make sure you got a sharpener.
Just going to do one more that we've got on here as well, because I think this is really good, because relative to what the alcohol that we used earlier. Becky, we foraged for some sloes last year and had them sitting in brandy ever since. I've got bullises. I've got a bullis tree at the bottom of the garden there, which is a type of sloe, which is amazing as well. Have you got any good recipe ideas that she can use for boozy sloes in? I would say, that lovely little delice that I made earlier, which was really good.
Would be fantastic.
Ice cream just over the top, it's delicious.
Over ice cream, or do a white chocolate mousse with a little bit of melted white chocolate, whipped cream, Greek yogurt, fold it through, stick it in a glass and put the boozy, sharp sloes on the top.
And you talked about the American pancakes. You can just take whipped cream and add some of that liqueur into sort of partly whipped cream, not fully whipped, and then just dollop it on there as well. But you can actually freeze a little bit of whipped cream with that liqueur in it, just sort of almost do it like a ripple.
Yeah.
Put it in the freezer and then just scoop a little bit out, which is also really, really good. There you go.
That sounds good.
There you go. Loads of questions and loads of answers. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about in food and cooking, then do get in touch. We'll see if we can answer them on the future shows. And do keep sending your pictures and videos coming in. We'd love to see what you've been inspired to cook at home. I love that Tats Tan. That was a cracker. Right, Lesley will be cooking for us a little bit later, and I'll be showing you the proper way to make stocks in this week's Little Masterclass. But I'll see you back here in a few minutes when we're joined in the house by Olympic gold medalist Greg Rutherford will be here as well. See you in a bit. Welcome back. Now we're giving you a step-by-step guide to making your own stocks. In this week's Little Masterclass, and Chef Leslie Waters will be treating us to burgers and chili a little bit later. But first, I'm here with world and Olympic long jump champion, who may have hung up his running shoes, but he's now strapping on his skates. Why on earth he's doing that, I've got no idea. But that's on tomorrow night in the new series of Dancing on Ice. It's the brilliant Greg Rutherford. Greg, why?
I think the bruises on my legs are just saying probably stupidity is the reason I've done it. But
well, we're going to. I know you're a big food lover as well, but I'm going to start off with a nice little bit of steak. So, koji steak, first of all. So, koji steak we're going to do, but we're going to do it with puff rice, with wild mushrooms, keep it nice and simple, really.
Very good.
But it sounds very complicated, but what it is this koji. This is this mixture of koji, which is you can buy in packs like this. It's actually fermented rice.
Right.
And what this does is, you said, I mean, we talked about it when we're off camera, it sort of ages the aging process, but speeds it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So you start off with this little bit of koji, which, like I said, fermented rice. You put it over the top of the steak. And what we're going to do is barbecue this. But first thing you've got to do is just wipe this off. You can see the colour that it changes. Yeah. Look at that, what it changes the meat as well. It changes the texture of the meat as well. What you want to do is wipe this off. And then what we're going to do is take this meat and then just simply put it in the oven. So don't put it on the barbecue straight away. And this is really thin. You want to cook it in here first and finish it on the barbecue. Right. So do it the opposite way.
What's the equivalent of that? So, for example, if you said, like, I don't know, 28-day dry age...
That would be it. 20, that'd be about 20 days, I mean, this is already an aged piece of beef, but this tenderises it even more. It's absolutely incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So we're going to do puffed rice with this, which is wild rice. This is what wild rice looks like. You can do this with normal rice. Don't wash it, and you just pop it into the pan of oil. Yeah. And if you keep this, start it off in sort of maybe 130-degree oil, and then gradually bring it up to temperature, it'll puff up. And you get this, you get almost like your own... Yeah, like Rice Krispies sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it puffs up. You get an amazing texture with this as well. So, Greg, I want to talk to you about growing up and your family and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you look back at your family. Your family were very sporting. Your great-grandfather, your grandfather were big footballers.
Footballers, yeah. And naturally, so as well with my great-granddad, his brothers as well. It was a bizarre amount of footballers came out of that time.
So were you just surrounded by sport then as a kid, or...?
Well, it's a funny thing. So that sort of part of my family, it was such a long time ago. It's I mean, it was 20 years before I was even born that my great-granddad died. So, I mean, it was something that I never really came into contact with, but was always spoken about. Similar with my grandfather died before I was born and everything. So I never, ever had a sort of a chance to have a conversation about any of that. But it's, you read things through books and you find out and just hear things about what they did and how good they were. And like my great-granddad was sort of like a very famous winger who played for England, did the whole thing. Yeah, he was,
but you must, I mean, sport must be, say, you've got to be naturally good at it. It's got to be in your genes, hasn't it, really?
Yeah. I mean, that is always the bit... whenever I talk about long jumping in particular, I sort of say, like, you need to be relatively fast, but you need to actually be able to jump as well. And that's something that...
It's quite handy, isn't it, really?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a useful part of the whole
wasn't
process.
That a little... I was reading a little story. As a kid, didn't you used to jump over things back at the house when you were a kid?
So my dad's a builder, and he always would leave materials at the back of the house, and one thing in particular was this big pile of tiles, just roof tiles, and I used to just stand and jump on them. I mean, it was clearly a very boring childhood at times, but I would do things like that, and it was this bizarre thing where I realised I could jump. And I loved sport. I played a lot of football myself, did a bit of rugby, did a bit of badminton for a while, did all these different sports, which is one thing I always say for parents of kids that are sporty, get them trying every single sport you possibly can.
Because you tried a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But it was running that was going to be at the forefront of your thing, really. When was that point where you thought, I'm not good enough for this, I'm going to do long jump? How did that come about?
Well, so my desire to win had a lot to do with it. So the key thing that I had in every sport that I ever tried is that I was fast. I was always the fast kid, that whatever I did. But I very quickly found when you leave Milton Keynes as the town that I'm from, and then go into the wider world of the UK, you're most certainly not the fastest kid anymore.
You meet the Usain Bolt of this
Yes, you do. And you realise very quickly, with the size of the gap and how far they're in front of you, you are not going to be a champion.
And that's never going to... You're never... No matter what you do...
No, I'd never be to that level. And that's where maybe I was quite lucky as a kid, and because I was aware of that, and I was so desperate to win. That was all that mattered to me. I then, within the sport of athletics, then searched for the one that would work for me, and that just so happened, the jumping on the tiles and bricks turned into jumping into a sandpit.
Kind of paid off, didn't it, really?
Yeah, it helped, definitely.
But, I mean, we've got to go back to... I mean, there's turning points in your... and life-changing moments for you, I suppose. We've got to go to 2012.
Yeah.
London. The pinch yourself moment. But there's pinch yourself moments in it. You were part of that, what I class as Super Saturday. It was yourself and other athletes that have won gold.
Yeah.
What was that like for you? Did you know it was happening at that time? Were you aware about that?
It's a funny old thing. So when they released the timetable the year before, so I knew which day I'd be on and what I'd be prepping for, I remember saying, because Jess and Mo were either side of me, I was in the filling of their sandwich, if you like.
Yeah.
I said at the time, I was like, it doesn't matter if I break the world record, we've got Jess and Mo on, so nobody's going to remember what I do. And without realising that we'd never won 3 gold medals in one session of athletics in the history of the Olympics.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm having this unbelievable night where I've just watched Jess cross the line, and famously at 800 metres, I'm shouting her as she goes round past the long jump pit, and then she goes past, arms aloft, becomes Olympic champion. And I was about to take my 4th round jump. And I remember just thinking, I want a bit of that. I want to experience what she's just experienced, which was the crowd going into... Did you get to any of the sessions of any of the sports?
I did get to see a little bit of it, yeah. So earlier on, though, that was the thing.
The crowd was amazing.
But it was the build-up of it. Not just the build-up. It was everything about it. Just for the fact it was in there, it was London, it was... The weather was amazing. It was all perfect, wasn't it?
The stars aligned, if you like, in that way. And I went in there. Now, it's an interesting thing for me. I went in there, obviously, nobody had any idea of what I did and whatever else. I was a very unknown entity in that way. But I was the world lead at that year. I fully went into that competition wanting to win. Now, wanting and it happening are 2 very different things.
Yeah.
But I went in there believing that this is my chance. Because it was London. As you say, I mean... once in a lifetime, generally, just to see it, let alone compete it, and be in what you consider your prime.
But I mentioned the competitive element as well, because I've got to mention what you're doing now, but also what you've previously done. You've done your MasterChef, you trounced that.
Yeah.
did that. Yeah, strictly not so much.
You're not quite as good as you.
Not so much. Week 9, was it? Something like that. Week 9.
Blackpool, yeah.
But tell me about Dancing on Ice, because that must be like a level playing field for you.
I would say significantly more than say, other shows that are out there from that point of view, because obviously you get a lot of people that have done, I don't know, stage school or whatever else, and they come in and they can dance, right? So if you're just going into dance, they have a massive advantage over people like myself who'd never danced a step in my life. With the ice skating, now, I skated a little bit as a child, and it is a little bit. Like, if you see... Well, we'll see it tomorrow. When the show goes out, they'll show how I started to where we are now.
Were you going... I always, whenever I go, and I'm not going anymore. When I was a kid, I used to... But that's what Ricky was doing. Ricky Hatton. He's just going round...
just holding on to the side. And I could just about sort of go round. I could go round without holding on to the sides, sort of turn a little bit, couldn't really stop. But you spend all this time... And, I mean, it's a lot of time with your pro relative. I mean, we have to do 2 hours a day on the ice. Then you do what's known as your off-ice stuff, which is like practising lifts and things like that. Yeah. So it's quite full-on.
But then, look, we've got a steak over here. You can see it's not the most appetising thing in the world. Look, but you take this steak and we're going to barbecue it. And there's natural sugars in this rice that you don't want to do when you do it at the beginning. So you want to char this first, and almost finish this off on the barbecue. I'm going to reduce this down over there as well. But I was more intrigued as well when I was looking at your injury list when you went through. Your injury list as an athlete, it makes you think, why on earth do you want to do it? Like, why do you want to put yourself through all this?
It was bad. I mean, like, there was a period of time in my career where I was averaging... Well, I had in excess of about 36, I think it was, hamstring tears across both legs. It was an ankle injury that ended up finishing my career probably slightly early to where it should have been.
Dare I say, do you miss it, or...?
No. Do you know what I found? And actually, this is where something like Dancing on Ice comes in, is that what I miss is going out and performing. Because those moments of walking out and people cheering for you, they're so addictive as a sportsman or woman. And it's something that's what I miss. So live TV, actually, I find now, if I'm covering a sport myself or doing something like I'm about to do Dancing on Ice, it's one of those things that gives me that little buzz.
Well, you don't get anything here, not even cheering for steak on this show, nothing. Like Johnny might, you see, on camera 2 over there. He might cheer every now and then. But one thing that I was I was reading loads of stuff about you as well. One thing that I thought, which was fascinating, I thought you mentioned the ice thing. I've got to mention this bobsleigh thing, because this was an element where you got the opportunity to go back to the Olympics, different Winter Olympics, but Olympics, and do a totally different sport.
Yeah.
It didn't quite work out for you.
It didn't, and I think that was a really interesting learning curve for me, to be honest, as well. Now, for years, a really, really top, one of the greatest ever bobsleighers, a girl called Kaylee Humphries, who competed for Canada, now the US. She somebody I trained with in Arizona while I was based out there for many years, and she was always saying, you've got to try bobsleigh. Anyway, we sort of obviously went into the madness of the sort of COVID period and whatever else, and I started training a little bit again, and Kaylee just reached out, saw I was training, she was like, the guys need another pusher, like the British team. Go and try out.
Have you been down?
I'd never done anything. I'd never even seen one of the
Because the difference between pushing it, then you got to jump in it and go down.
Yeah, and I tell you what, if you love a frill, there
Which
is...
you clearly do.
I do, yeah. I enjoy going fast. I enjoy doing something that's slightly dangerous.
Yeah.
That, for me, there is nothing like it. 92 mile an hour
I will
down an
stick
ice
to
track.
cooking steak.
You love a bit of speed as well. Come on now.
To be honest with you, but look, we're going to take our steak, look, and we're going to brush it with this teriyaki. So this is this teriyaki which I've made, just in here. We brush the steak, then you leave it to rest. So just to recap, we've taken the steak in the koji, leave it for 20 minutes in the oven, just a normal conventional oven, and we're just going to finish this on the barbecue. But you can see what it does to the meat as well. It makes it amazing. And then what you do is you get yourself a plate, because then we can then slice our said steak. So we're going to take it so it's easier for you to eat, but we can take this, slice it all through.
Nice angle as well, I like that on the slices.
So we slice it all through, like that, on there, and then lift that off. So that's your teriyaki style of the steak. And we're going to finish this off with just a few textures. This is what it's all about, building up these little textures. I've got some of this. This is mushrooms, and all I've done is just salted them off like I've done in here, but I've just blended them with a little bit of soy and a little bit of rice wine vinegar. And what you end up with is this ketchup.
Look at that.
And this ketchup tastes amazing. So you've got this sweet, sour, that kind of sort of stuff. Then you've got your beautiful little bits of wild mushrooms, which we can just take. These little bits, sauteed mushrooms on the top, like that.
That's incredible.
And then, once we've done that, you can then take your little bit of wild rice, your puffed wild rice, which sits on the top and over it, just a little bit of texture. And then we can grab some nice little cresses. These are these really little bit of cress. This is a little bit of coriander cress.
Beautiful.
Then you take some red amaranth. We can actually grow this stuff at home. Just grow some tissue paper in your windowsill.
Nice.
Yeah, great with eggs. And then we're going to grab a little bit more of this sauce, and this goes over the top. And you just got this amazing little, simple little steak dish. So there you have it. My version of a steak with a nice little bit of sauteed wild mushrooms, mushroom ketchup. Don't forget that puff rice. Done. There you go. There you go. I know you're excited about tasting this, but
Thank you so much.
you got two opposite, like polar opposite dishes today. Classic French, and then this. But the steak, by the way, when you do it, just thinly slice it like that.
Okay.
You get this. The texture is amazing from this, and this, whether you if you put it on rump steak, it makes it taste like fillet steak. It's incredible. But this is the stuff that you want.
Oh, that's good. See, I love cooking a steak at home, but it doesn't taste like that. Oh, that's amazing.
But remember, I put no salt and pepper on it. Nothing.
That is incredible.
Happy with that?
More than happy.
It's a good start. You're going to stick around. We'll talk about that and a little bit of chicken chasseur a little bit later.
I'll stay for a bit.
Exactly. Right, we're treating Greg to a classic, like I said, chicken chasseur, later on this morning. There's a masterclass coming your way in stock. That's coming up very shortly. But see you back here after the break as we take a foodie road trip to the Spanish city of San Sebastian. See you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, we're serving up some classic French cooking for my guest, Greg Rutherford, later on this morning. And I'll be joined a plate of noodles from a friend of the show, Jonathan Pang, in just a few minutes. But before that, it's time to take a look back at one of my favourite culinary adventures. And this week, I'm heading back to San Sebastian in Spain and meeting up with a local chef to explore the city's amazing fish markets. enjoy this one. My time in San Sebastian has almost come to an end. But before I hit the road, I met up again with my mate Aitor from El Cano restaurant. He's letting me into a little secret and showing me the market where top local chefs from San Sebastian come to buy their fresh fish. And I'm in search of inspiration for my next recipe. This is fantastic. It's like a sweet shop for chefs and cooks, no?
It's a present.
It's a present, exactly.
It's a present and it's a midpoint.
Yeah, exactly. You must spend a lot of time in here because this is beautiful.
It's a pleasure to come and that you can see all the fishermen what they take in the day.
One thing I've got my eye on for this cook, though, the red mullet. What do you call this in Spanish? What is this?
In Spanish, salmonete, but in Basque language, barbaña.
Well, I'm definitely, because these are in season, I'm definitely going to have some anchovies. So I'll have probably, half a kilo of these?
Yeah.
And maybe two nice red
mullets.
Yeah. Red mullet has got this amazing liver inside it, which is highly prized. When you grill it like that, you eat the liver, the red mullet liver.
Love it.
Oh, my.
But when they eat in the rocks, it's special.
It's unbelievable.
Yes,
it's really, so wherever possible, get it whole, really.
Anchovies, you want that they clean it? They take out the heads and...
Yes, please.
Sí, que las anchoas, sí, porfa, Iván.
Why not? Look. I can see you smiling as well. It's always the cooks and the chefs who come here and you can't help but smile, and it makes you want to cook it, no?
It's lovely. I remember when I was younger, my father bring me to this area, and you can be here. You will see all the chefs coming here. Yeah. 8:30, 9:30, but all of them come here to take the fish. So it's a midpoint to the chef too.
I can't help but be inspired, so I'm off to do what I do best and rustle up one last dish for you in my car park kitchen with a view. A fisherman's stew using the anchovies and red mullet I bought at the market. What I'm going to do first of all is get this stew on by chopping up some of these onions and chop these up. Now, you don't have to be too precise with this. Remember, this is a fisherman's stew, so it would be just chunky. But we're going to serve this with this amazing grilled mullet that I got from the market. Like that. But whatever it is, certainly garlic seems to be the key in all these recipes. Now, a bit like all these sort of classic sort of recipes that come from different regions, they've been adapted over the years. We're going to start this off nice and simple. Onions, garlic in the pan. Start to colour that off. So that's going to go straight in there. Now, into there now we're going to add our tomatoes. So get them in. Chop them up as well into dice. I want this to sort of stew together, so we'll get our pan, slide that in there, start cooking that away nicely. So now obviously, depending on how long you want this to cook for, depends on how large you chop our potatoes, but usually these would be done in sort of chunks. When you go to these restaurants, you'll find variant sort of guises of this. Some sort of small, some deconstructed, others sort of large chunks, almost like a sort of bouillabaisse sort of thing. So you get these big chunks of potatoes in here, and that's probably the classic way of doing it. In we go with our potatoes as well. Give this a little stir. Now, interestingly enough, these peppers, this is where the recipes vary, really. You can put the peppers in fresh, of course, but you can get them in jars. You can also get them in paste, and a lot of recipes will tell you to utilise the paste as well, particularly around here. Now, all around the Basque country, this is actually quite easy to get hold of, this paste. But I've actually seen it back home and often wondered where it's from. Well, now I can put the two together because it's from these peppers. You get this amazing paste, and you get this wood-fired sort of flavour from it. But we're going to utilise that in our stew. So, a bit of that, some of this paste. Like I said, this is this, almost think of it like a red pepper tomato puree. That kind of, like a concentrate, really. So we're going to put a good whack of flavour into that as well. This will give a lovely colour to our stew. Now, recipes will tell you, as again, to use different types of stock, a little bit of fish stock. Others actually use chicken stock, I've seen before. That's chefs messing with recipes too much, I think. It's either water or wine, I think, for this one, which is a good job, because it's quite warm on this balcony. gonna add a little bit of wine. And then I'm going to put a few little sprigs of bay leaf in there. And I'm going to gently, gently cook this now. It's going to take about sort of 10 minutes. Meanwhile, we'll take a look at the view. Looks lovely, that. Look at the glisten on that. It's the colours of Spain. Look. Just leave that stewing away nicely. Meanwhile, we can sort of concentrate on our fish. We've got a beautiful bit of mullet over here. Now, I'm going to simply sort of prepare it. Often with red mullet, people are fazed by it. You see it in the shops going, what am I supposed to do with that? Well, this is amazing just grilled on the barbecue. So we just simply cook it. I'm just going to flavour it with a little bit of bay leaf, a little bit of lemon, nothing else really. I've got some Espelette pepper over here, which is made into sort of Espelette pepper salt with our lovely red mullet over here. Now, I've got in here the liver, and the liver is the key to this. Keep it in there. That's the nice little bit of liver. And what we're going to do with this is just simply cook it. So you can make a little bit of scoring like that. Don't have to be too fancy with it. You can take a little bit of lemon, touch of lemon in there, some bay leaf, and then get yourself a skewer. I'm going to just skewer this up, really. So think of it like that. We'll then just put the skewer in all the way through the other side, just to hold it together like that. You can see now a lovely stew. Look at the colours of that. It's glorious. I'm just going to put that to one side while I grill the red mullet, turning the skewers to cook it evenly on both sides. What good does that look? It's nicely, simply cooked. I can tell it's cooked. It's just sort of falling off our skewer. So I'm just going to leave that onto one side, put our stew back on here, and then I'm going to finish this off now. We're going to finish off our stew with the anchovies, of course, a little bit of chopped parsley, and then you can then season it. I'm going to use some of this little Espelette pepper. You can use a little bit of this in here as well. But this is the combination of the pepper and the salt as well, which is really nice. So just a touch of black pepper. And then finally now, I'll just make sure it's a little bit more liquid. Touch of wine. And I'm going to pop in the anchovies right at the last minute. Give it a quick stir. Look at that. It just looks amazing, really. You know, I was going to put a little bit of parsley in there, but I think it'll ruin it, really. I don't need to put anything else with it. Maybe just a little drizzle of olive oil, because it's a chefy thing. And then we'll grab our platter. There we go. Take this. Now, you don't have to do anything with it. Serve it in a pan, but look. So look, you've got the anchovies that are just cooked. They taste unbelievable, these. You've got your lovely bit of red mullet, which you can see is just cooked. We just, as it breaks apart, lift off the skewer like that. And then all we need now is a good glug of olive oil over the top. So there we have it, my little homage to this amazing place. It's my first time here, but I know it's definitely not mine and your last, because this is spectacular. What a way to start a tour. It's pretty good, isn't it? An amazing place, not just for food, but for ingredients, of course. Spain is such a special place. Right, I'll be giving you a crash course in making the perfect stock in this week's Little Masterclass. And there's still loads more to come from my guest, Greg Rutherford, a little bit later. But I'll see you back here in a few minutes when Jonathan Pang will be taking over the kitchen. I'm looking forward to that. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, coming up, I'll be teaching you everything you want to know about making your own stocks in this week's little masterclass, and I'll be chatting some more to Greg Rutherford over a chicken chasseur a little bit later. But first, I'm here with Leslie, and we're about to enjoy a dish from a foodie and a photographer whose life has taken him from the catwalks of London, Paris and Milan. Glam life, eh? To my kitchens in Hampshire. It's Jonathan Pang. Wonderful to have you back again.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, I keep saying you're travelling all over the world. You've just come back. There's a cruise you've been on.
Oh, yes.
I've been spotting you on Instagram on your cruises and all that.
I was cooking on a cruise, could you
I
believe
know,
it? I went
fantastic.
all around Spain and Europe, and I had a wonderful time.
It's an amazing place, isn't it? Beautiful.
Beautiful country, and it took me to places I'd never seen before, and it's great to see and experience that when you're at
Particularly,
my
I
age.
find the east and the west side is always quite a fascinating place. People always go, Creature of Habits, they go to the Costas, but when you venture out south, is amazing as well, but very barren compared with, it's...
And Galicia is so green and beautiful, but the food is so fantastic,
It is.
isn't
So
it?
what? You're not brought anything back from Spain, by the way?
No, there's nothing Spanish here at all, I'm afraid. So this is very much a dish from my sort of childhood and my heritage. So I was telling Leslie, I used to work in a Chinese supermarket in Gerrard Street in Chinatown when I was 12 and 13. And so basically, the staff meal all the time was ho fan noodles. And for years, I just couldn't look at them. But now it's sort of very evocative and brings back lovely memories. And it's a really comforting dish. So
Sounds pretty good.
It's a bit like beef ho fan, which is my sort of takeaway favourite, but I've decided to make it with prawns because it'll just look a bit prettier and not too brown.
Okay.
So we're going to start off by making our sort of marinading sauce. So it's very, very simple, and I've got something here which might appall you, but it helps me. So...
He's shown it to me.
I know.
I spotted these
I
on
know.
here. What is this? What is
Well, you know what? I'm quite exacting when I write a recipe, and I need to make sure that it sort of works. And I'm
I
not
don't know whether
good
this
at
is Toys R Us
freestyle.
or
Well, it
a
is
baby
bit.
shop, one of the two.
Well, I got this out of a Christmas cracker for grating garlic, and I've got to tell you, it's fabulous. Anyway, so we've got some dark soy sauce here. So this is all about, the difference of dark and light. The light is obviously because it's savoury and salty. The dark is because it's rich and it has a little bit of sweetness to it. So we've just got 1 tablespoon of dark to 2 tablespoons of the light. And then we've got some nice Chinese rice wine as well.
Can we do that?
Yes, please. There you go.
And how many do you want of this?
2 would be great.
2.
Yeah.
Okay. 1,
1,
2.
2, and then I've got some chilli in oil as well, so just a teaspoon of
And
this.
you want me to then do the vegetables?
I
while
want you
you're
to
doing
do
that as well?
pretty much most of it, if you
Most
don't
of it.
mind. So if you'd half the onion and
I was
slice
thinking that
it
was gonna happen.
thinly. Yeah, well, why break the habit of a lifetime? So I've got this wonderful chilli in oil, which looks a lot hotter than it actually is.
Yeah.
It really isn't as scary as it looks, but we'll just put sort of 1 teaspoon in.
There are things from
just in
supermarkets,
case.
Chinese, Oriental supermarkets, which got... I call it chili crack. I don't know whether it's the right thing, but you've got this...
Oh, my God.
It's amazing. It's like this peanutty, nutty...
Yeah.
It's
It
incredible
really
as well.
is. And there's a really wonderful roasted garlic one as well, which you must try. And I'm going to put some demerara sugar in there as well, just to sort of take any sort of acidity away. So just, a nice little heaped teaspoon will be fine. It just will help sort of caramelise those shrimps as well. So just give that a good little stir. And now, I just want to pop the prawns in there, just to get a bit of flavour in. So if I was cooking this at home, I would probably put the prawns in and let them sit there for, a good half an hour or something, just so we can get those flavours in there.
Would this always be done with shrimp, or you do this with chicken?
No, you can do this with literally any protein that you like. So if you're
Is
vegetarian...
it normally done with beef, or...?
Yes. I mean, that does tend to be a sort of, staple favourite, particularly in, takeaways and in Chinatown as well. But I like it with the shrimp. It's a sort of slightly lighter dish.
Yeah.
But, if you were vegetarian, I'd recommend that you did it with tofu. It's great with chicken. Honestly, it's pretty great with pork as well. So I just want to sear the prawns. Have we got any tongs there,
Yes,
Jane?
just there.
Okay, fantastic. So you don't want to cook them through. So literally, just get them in there, sear it, and take them out. So the moment they go opaque is the time to get them out.
But you want to keep some of that juice, that's the key.
We are absolutely keeping the juice, and we're going to water it down in a minute. We're going to put some water in there as well. Okay, so here we go. Just literally turn them...
Do you want these mushrooms?
Okay, I'd like you to take the middles out and then slice them, because they can be a little bit tough. So
when you were
6
in
of them would be
Spain,
fine.
when you were in Spain, did you do a lot of sherry tasting?
Too much sherry, do. So the food didn't always go to plan. So it was kind of,
you end up doing these
cookery
demonstrations as well on it.
Oh, yeah, I was doing cooking demos every single day, and it really wasn't very hard work because I'd literally work 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I was socialising with the guests.
With sherry and...
So with sherry, paella classes, and also seeing a different city every day, which was an absolute joy.
Whereas when you do that sort of thing, particularly when you look at Spain, you look at the south, particularly for the sherry, but the tuna as well in the south. They're very regional in their food anyway. I didn't think they were that very, very loyal with their food as well.
I think every region is proud of what they have to offer.
Yeah.
And you kind of find dishes that you wouldn't find anywhere else, which I thought was really interesting. All right, so there's our prawns. We've taken them off. So we're going to get another little pan here. Let's put a little bit of oil in.
Am I chopping the pepper up as well? Or?
You know you're going to chop everything. You could go a little bit finer with the garlic. That's perfect. Let's have a few more mushrooms, if you wouldn't mind. And also a bit of red pepper. That's huge, so maybe a quarter.
OK.
A little julienne, you know?
I can do that.
You know how to do that, don't
now,
you?
well, we mentioned photography. I've got to... Those people who don't know your past career, because your past career... do you class yourself as a model agent? Were you a management?
Well, I was a bit of both. I was a model agent for a very, very long time and worked with some amazing people. But I, got past the age of that. So I still work in fashion now. My day job is representing hairdressers, makeup artists and photographers. Yeah. And then I guess the great thing about getting old is the contacts that you have give you opportunities. Mm-hmm. And I think we discussed last time I was here, I was enjoying going to parties and trying not to eat and drink. And so I thought, how do I keep myself busy at a party? I thought I'll just take pictures. And then suddenly people started asking me to take them and pay me for them.
But you must, to talk about photography, you must have can you imagine a book or a gallery full of the pictures? Because you must have had some amazing photographs.
No, I
did.
From
back in the day, do you still have those?
Unfortunately, in those days, we didn't take many pictures. Right. We left it to professionals. The digital age has made photography a lot easier than it used to be. And so I don't have as many pictures as I should have taken. Now, I don't go anywhere, literally, without a camera. Right, so we've got our garlic, we've got our onion, we've got some nice little capsicum or red pepper. We just want these to soften. We don't want them to overcook either.
Yeah.
And so also I'm going to put a little bit more oil in because...
Smells so good, Jonathan.
Well, the moment I start coughing is like now. But we know
that's when it's ready.
Lovely aromas are being released, and that's when they're nearly done. All right. So now I'm going to go in with the shiitake.
Yeah.
And I love shiitake mushrooms. I think it just has a really... I don't want to use the word nutty, but it has a very interesting flavour, doesn't it?
It's interesting when you do the prawns, you don't put them in for very long and then you put them back in to cook.
Yeah, so, they're cooked about 3/4, just
you
at their own pace.
You don't want them to go tough, do you?
No, you don't, but you want them to have some kind of flavour because with these lovely noodles, these rice noodles, which are basically made of rice flour, I think probably a bit of rapeseed oil, a bit of potato starch, once they cook, they're going to cook very quickly. All right, so these are softening. I have coughed, so now...
The onions are imminent, so... Yeah.
So I'm going to put some bean sprouts in, just to give a little bit of added texture.
Yeah.
And now, let's go in with the spring onions as well. That's enough of those for now, James.
So obviously you were in a particular era back then.
Yeah.
Supermodels.
Your point being?
Tell me about these noodles then. I want to change the subject quickly.
All right. So these noodles look like they're never going to separate at all.
Yeah.
Right. Trust me, they will. All right,
I've never seen noodles like that before. Oh, they're breaking up already.
Yeah, they are. And so I've added some water.
What are these called?
They're called ho fan.
Ho fan.
Yeah, which is just literally white sugar. So in with the gravy there.
Yeah. But I mentioned the fact, that particular era for
it was the
supermodels.
Golden era.
It was the golden era.
It was the golden era because we didn't have to listen to anybody then. Everybody just looked fabulous and you could make up your own minds about who they were.
Yeah. How did you get into that? From working in a Chinese restaurant, a supermarket, how did you get into that world?
I was working in another restaurant, not a Chinese one, in town, and I was a maitre d', which I absolutely loved doing. And then I saw an advert in the Evening Standard, which was our Bible in those days, looking for a booker in a model agency, and I kind of knew what that meant. And I went for the job, And a very, very now famous photographer was sitting in the office. He was their resident testing photographer. He was called Cote Belofo, and he's an amazing guy. And the boss of the agency left the door open so he could hear. I was not what they were looking for. They wanted a sort of bilingual secretary who was good with accounts, and I was none of those things. But she liked me. Her name was Beth Bolt, and she was a wonderful person. And literally, I left the interview, and he said, he's the one, he's got style, book him. And that's what gave me my start in the business. And she was an amazing scout. She would literally walk around Covent Garden and come back with Naomi Campbell, which is what she did.
Oh, she was a spotter.
She was a great spotter and a great photographer. She taught me an enormous amount. And so that's how it all started, and here I am, nearly dead, and sort of still more or less in it, you know. All these 40 years... Literally 40 years later.
I think it's fascinating, John. Just to show you what these noodles that you're doing as well. These are the ones that... Can I open this up so you can see?
You can do whatever you like.
So these are what they look like, look.
Yeah.
So you think they've got some potato starch in them?
I think so, because once they start softening, which they will do soon, normally in my house it's done by now, it's because of that sort of spongy texture. So at this point, now they're very nearly done, I'm just going to shove the prawns back in.
There you go.
And there we go. And that's nearly it. So all we need now... I got that in a Christmas cracker and I thought of you. I thought you were sort of... you know, well, like, do you know something? It helps me. My little spoons and things, it means that I'm doing it in my mind, right? Yes. And but I have to say, this is much easier than a microplane for me.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So this is now... So the prawns, they were already 3/4 of the way cooked, as we remember. Now they're in there, we just want to heat them through, and then they're pretty much done.
I've got some coriander. Do you want any coriander?
Yeah, a little coriander always makes everything look a bit pretty, doesn't it? Lovely. OK, when? So that is basically it. We are now done.
Oh,
so all we've got to do is serve it.
We've got our little bowl over here. Do you want me to plate this up?
Do you know what? I think it's safer if you do, because everything could go wrong. Right. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to finish this off with what? You've got a little bit of
sesame oil. Well, I'm just going to garnish with a little bit of sesame oil, because I don't like cooking with sesame oil particularly, because it sort of it burns and it becomes a little bit nutty. But just a tiny little bit on the top, and then also a little bit of sesame seed, I just think makes it, I don't know, just looks like you care, really. There we go.
A few bits of spring onions.
A bit of spring onion. A little... Voila.
Happy with that? So
I am happy with that.
Give us the name of this amazing dish. It smells amazing.
It's just prawn ho fan noodles. By Jonathan.
By Jonathan. Legend. There we have it, Leslie. Jonathan and I, we've got the pan. That's all right?
Fine by me. Let's have a little go, see how the noodles are.
Those noodles are great. I've never seen those noodles before.
They're fabulous. It's got a hit to it, but it's not too hot.
It's not overpowering. That looks scary, those chilies and all, but they're not as hot as you'd think.
Jonathan Pang, everybody! Right, you've got to try and trump this dish a little bit later on. And I'll be treating Greg Rutherford to some classic French cuisine at the end of the show. But I'll see you here in a couple of minutes where we're making some stock, a range of stocks. I'm going to do 3 different stocks, a little masterclass in stocks. There we go. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, there's still loads more to come from champion long jumper Greg Rutherford this morning, and Chef Leslie Waters will be firing up the hobs. That's coming up next. But first, it's time of this week's Little Masterclass, and this week I thought I'd give you a lesson in how to make your own stock, because an essential skill that every good cook and chef has to learn. So, first of all, there are different types of stock. If you take 2 types of stock, first of all, fish stock and meat stock, you can either have these white stock or brown stock. Now, what makes the difference is that with the brown stock, you roast off the bones. So you can roast off the bones for chicken. You can do that with veal bones, beef bones, game bones. You can also do it with fish bones. That will make a brown stock. If you don't do that, then we'll make a white stock. So the first thing we're going to do is going to go through our chicken stock, your classic chicken stock. So we've got in here some chicken carcass. Now, you can use this, you can use a little bit of wings, but the problem is with these little winglets over here, they contain a lot of the skin, and the skin contains a lot of fat, and the more fat you put in the stock, the more it will go cloudy, and also you get this layer of fat, and it will taste of fat as well. So with this one, what you want to do is roast off the bones to create our brown stock. You can, if you want, take these and put them into the pan. That will create a white stock, but with this, we're going to do a brown one. So the first thing we're going to do is take our carcass like that and then chop up the vegetables. The vegetables, you can be sort of a decent sort of size, chunks, that kind of stuff. The vegetables that I'm using over here are things like carrot, celery, and onion and leek. So because you're using this as a brown stock, what you can do is use a different selection of vegetables, i.e. coloured vegetables. So with the leeks and bits and pieces like that, it's a good idea to keep these end bits of the leeks, because as we'll make a white stock, we can use the white part of the leek. But with the brown stock, you can pop that all in there. So then we go with the leeks like that. Now, to help it get a little bit brown, we're then going to take some tomato puree. Now, this is only really when it comes to making the brown stock, where you take some tomato puree over the top, like that, and that basically just gets roasted in the oven now. Nothing else, no oil, don't put anything else with it, as it is. Now, a lot of chefs, what they'll do is they'll actually take this onion, cut it in half, and you can actually put the skin of the onions in. This is the great thing about stocks as well. You can put all this in as well if you want to do, the skin of the onion. You can, what a lot of chefs do in restaurants is they blacken this onion. So they'll take the onion and put this on the solid top, on here like this, when this is on, and blacken it. This will help brown off the stock as well. But what you want to do is take the carcass like that and roast it in the oven. And give it a good, it wants a good sort of half an hour, 40 minutes in there. So it's really nicely coloured. And I say nicely coloured, this is what we end up with. You get this sort of carcass. And then what we can do is take our pan and pop your carcass in there with everything else. This is your darkened veg as well. So a lot of people say this would be a little bit too coloured, but this is important. Even these little bits over here, any little bits of the darkened bits, see these little bits of leek? That's what you want. So if you don't colour this enough, you don't get that nice brown stock. Then, try and get in the habit of putting cold water on it. It just helps you understand what's happening as it starts to warm up, where you can then start to skim this. Now, you can, if you want, when you get to this stage, add things like bay leaf, a little bit of thyme, some peppercorns. I'm adding some normal black peppercorns into there, a little bit of parsley maybe, something like that. That's it. And we just bring this to the boil now and gently simmer this. Now, beef stock takes a lot longer. You still roast off the bones as normal, but that's 24 to 72 hours for beef stock. Chicken stock, 12 to 24 hours. So you would leave this gently simmering away all day. Let that just ticker away. Very, very slowly like that. What you don't want to be doing is rapidly boiling this. If you rapidly boil it, what happens is this layer of fat that sits on the top will start to churn into the pan. And that will sort of, well, it'll cause the stock not to be clear. And it'll go cloudy. And if you can see that, I've got this beautiful clearish stock. Now, there is a layer of fat on there. Don't worry about that, because what you can do is strain this off. You can pop this in the fridge until it goes cold. And that fat, you can just scrape off the top of it. But this is where you end up with this beautiful, beautiful dark brown chicken stock, which you can use for a variety of different things. I'm going to use it for my end dish, my lovely little chicken chasseur, which is going to be perfect. But like I said, once you've made it, you can use this for amazing soups and broths. And if you want to spice it up with a little bit of chili, you've almost got, you know, a great little consomme, really something simple like that. But you do get loads and loads of flavour out of what is just a chicken carcass that usually you would just get rid of. So keep them, because they're absolutely delicious. Because all these you can freeze really, really well as well. So we're going to turn our attention to our fish stock now. A fish stock is one of my favourites, really, because I use this a lot in the restaurants, really, because it's timing. A lot of people haven't got the time, really. Restaurants like that, you're having to cook for particularly beef stock, like I said, for 72 hours, and you need a massive pot, and you reduce that all down as well. But fish stock, we start off with some fish bones over here. Now, I'm going to use these sort of John Dory bones, but usually white fish bones. You can use salmon bones as well if you wanted to, but you stay away from things like smoked fish and you stay away from things like oily fish. So no tuna, no mackerel, that kind of stuff. What you want is sort of white fish bones like that. So you take the whole lot. Now, if you haven't got these, like I said, salmon ones would work brilliantly as well, but fish stock does taste amazing, and it's very, very difficult to get hold of. The vegetables to this, we keep on the sort of white influence of this. So we use the white of the leek, like that. We use a little bit of onion, like that. We use some celery, which is your classic. That's really your 3 classic vegetables into your fish stock. So leeks, onion, celery. But then we can use things like fennel if you wanted to. Now, fennel is much stronger than the rest of it, but it's brilliant with this. So we just add a little bit to it as well. So in proportion-wise, probably half the amount to any of the other vegetables that we've got in here. So that can go into our pan now, as it is. Now, there's no need to roast this off, but like I said, if you wanted a brown fish stock, it would be done exactly the same. You'd roast off the bones, and you can make a brown fish stock exactly the same. But then we add a little bit of parsley to it as well, like that. We can add some white peppercorns now. It's really just that classic way of putting it all together. White peppercorns, maybe a little bit of thyme if you wanted to, but certainly a little bit of bay leaf goes in there as well. And again, cold water. So I kind of keep away from garlic, that kind of stuff with this one, because it's quite strong. But fill it full of cold water, like that. And this is really important that you start it in cold water, because unlike the stock that we've got over there, this will react slightly differently. So you bring it to the boil. Now, as you bring it to the boil, what will happen is there'll be a little bit of foam that will come off it, like this. Now, this has been cooking now, because fish stock is quite time crucial. What you don't want to be doing is cooking this any more than sort of 30 minutes. 20 to 30 minutes is what you want for fish stock, ideally. Otherwise, anything beyond that, it goes a little bit bitter. So what you want to do with this is just remove this little bit of foam over the top, like that. Now, you can see this is just ticking away nicely. The key to this, really, is you mustn't let this rapidly boil, because this will go cloudy quite severely. So if you rapidly boil this to try and speed things up a bit, it will just turn this clear liquid, and that's been cooking now for about half an hour, into sort of a cloudy liquid. There's nothing wrong with it. We can use it. But certainly when we want to make it sauces, we want to make it nice and clear like that, because it just... I get in the habit of just making it right, first of all, rather than speeding it all up. And then what you can do, once you get to this stage, you can decant it. You can put it through a little bit of a cloth. So when you get to that, I'll show you. Take that to one side. You can pop it into a bowl. All these, by the way, freeze brilliantly as well. You can just use these as a tea towel or a little bit of muslin cloth like that. And we can just take this mixture and we can pass that through our sieve. It's amazing. If you had smelly vision, what this smells like. It's just, it doesn't smell fishy. It just smells amazing. The taste of this is incredible. And you'd be amazed how much flavour you get on pieces of meat and pieces of chicken and pieces of fish that you would just normally get rid of. There's so much flavour in here. And this is really the essence of great cooking. If we think about things like a chicken chasseur that I'm going to do later, sure enough, the chicken and everything else, but stocks are an essential part of cooking. And we can just take this off and you end up with that. Look, this clear stock, and you just keep passing it off. And that is your beautiful, beautiful little bit of fish stock. Now, there's one other, just quickly, to show you some veg stock. So veg stock, again, you can do this a brown veg stock or you can do a white veg stock. So the same thing again. We take some onions like that, chop them up. This is slightly different, where you can mix and match the vegetables how you want, really. You can use your carrots. This is a brilliant way to use any leftover veg that you've got in the bottom of your fridge or anything, rather than get rid of it. This is just a brilliant way to utilise everything. So any little bits of trim, you can use mushrooms for this. It's entirely up to you. You can use things like parsnips. I would stay away from sort of brassicas, things like cabbages, and particularly things like cabbages, asparagus and Brussels sprouts. You don't want to be using that kind of stuff. So either the brown or the white of the leeks, they go in. A little bit of garlic go in. You can put some nice little bit of peppercorns in there. Again, some herbs, hard herbs, things like thyme, tarragon, a little bit of bay leaf, parsley, that kind of stuff, celery. But the great thing with that is utilise everything. Stalks, the lot. They go all in. So you've got this beautiful vegetables. Again, fill it full of cold water, bring this to the boil, and this needs to cook. Everything's got a time on it, really, with stock. So what you don't want to be doing is overcooking this. If you cook this for 2 hours, it just tastes like overcooked vegetables. So you want to cook this between half an hour and an hour, and you end up with it gently simmering away like this, as you end up with this amazing stock that we've got in here. So if I just take that off, and you've got that. But these stocks are absolutely delicious. Like I said, an essential part of cooking, particularly this time of the year as well, as we start to get into the heart of the winter. This is a perfect opportunity to utilise all these different things for so many different recipes later on as well. So there you have it. 3 versions of stocks, but an essential part of cooking. Easy as that. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about in a little masterclass, then do get in touch with me, see if we can help out right here on the show. Time now for a quick break. Join me again in a couple of minutes when Chef Leslie Waters will be serving up an amazing plate of burger and chilli. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. I'll be serving up a show-stopping chicken chasseur for my guest Greg Rutherford a little bit later on the show. But first, I'm here with Mr. Pang over here, and we're about to enjoy a dish from a chef who learnt a trade working with the likes of Prue Leith and finding fame on shows like This Morning and, of course, Ready, Steady, Cook. Do you remember those days? Do you remember those days? It's the brilliant Leslie Waters. Good to have you back.
So nice to be here.
Remember those days? It's nearly 18 years since I left. Since I left it 18 years ago. Right, so what are you going to be making then?
OK, so we're going to do a really hot chilli, OK, using dry chilli flakes. And this is one that I really like to do because it's like a kind of deconstructed chili con carne.
OK.
And basically, we're going to roast the chili rather than cooking it on the top. And this is great because vegans can have this, vegetarians can have this, and meat eaters can too. So often I've got mates coming round who are vegan, vegetarian, they eat meat, la la. So this sort of, you know, ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
And you want to just place those onto your board, first of all, along with some very chunky red onion and a couple of nice big cloves of garlic going in there. So let's get those on.
So you want these just smashing, yeah?
Yeah, smashing and throwing on, and a little bit of seasoning. I love that sort of salt and pepper seasoning going on here.
Oh, the pre-done one?
Oh, I really absolutely love it. Right. So on there like that. And it's got different peppers, so it's got a really nice sort of fragrant taste. So on there...
This is super healthy as well, this.
Yeah.
Because a little birdie told me, is it training to do some swimming marathon? What is it all about?
In the summer, I'm actually running for the Charity Planet. And, well, I'm not running, I'm swimming. I'm doing 10K, which is a swimming marathon, which is about 7 miles. So I'm starting to train for that now.
Is that indoor? Is that outdoor?
Hang on, James. That's... well, I was going to go open water, but I'm frightened of bumping into anything I don't fancy, so I'm doing it.
Like a shark.
I'm doing it in
What's that, like a boat or something like that? Like a fishing trawler?
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. So if you can chop up those tomatoes...
What is it you don't fancy seeing?
Well, I don't like water rats or... I don't like being able to not see underneath, you know.
OK, right.
Chop these up, throw them on. So these are the... These are the peppers and the garlic that have been in the oven for about 20 minutes. So, burgers. OK.
Because how have you done it? Because you're looking mighty fine, by the way.
I'm very happy to hear that.
Because you've now lost how much?
Well, I don't want to be too specific, but, you know, it's over 6 stone.
Whoa!
And
that deserves a round of applause, doesn't it? Is that's not through swimming marathons? What is that? Is that
absolutely not through anything that's going to...
I've known you a while. I can't see you as a swimming marathon.
No, I mean, if there was a buffet in a gym, I might go. But so basically, it's just abstinence. You know, I got diabetes during lockdown, and I just felt really unhealthy and just really tired, and I didn't enjoy feeling that way at all. So I had to change my life. And now I'm glad I did.
I think we've all done it, and me as well.
Yeah.
Age, I think, man related to as well.
Yeah.
I went for an MOT and came out with a list. That's
Exactly.
And it's not just about doing exercise, is it? You can't rely on that. You know?
So what have you got? So you got the tomatoes put on here.
Okay, so now what I want you to do is to mix that. No, wait. The chilli in with the sugar, in with seasonings and salt.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good. And then I'm going to get some sun-dried tomatoes. So we've got lots of intense flavours going on here with the oil. And now sprinkle that over.
Wow.
Right. Okay. So the sugar will bring out the taste of the...
So this is going to all caramelise everything all together, I take it, as well.
That's the hope. And then
back in the oven.
Back in the oven. And then if you can bring the one out... I'm sorry about this. If you can bring the one out, but you can see that is looking so good.
This is the smash burger bit, is it?
Yeah, let me talk about that in a second, because rather than using kidney beans, I'm going to be using black beans, which you can buy in a tin, or you can soak them overnight and boil them for a couple of hours. I know what I would use. All right? And...
Not even... Because tell me about this cookery school. Are you officially back open yet? Because we're talking about it for a long time.
We are doing classes, but we're not open full-time. So kitchen's still a mess. I've got no central heating at the moment. It's a bit of a killer, but it's going to be fab once it's done. Right, back in the oven, please, my darling. That's the black beans, and now we'll talk about the burgers. So these are for my son, who absolutely loves a smashed burger.
Me too.
And if do you like them?
I love them.
So what he does, and I think this is great, is
more oil in there.
Yeah, can you, darling?
Yeah.
We just use... I quite like using skirt for burgers. He uses paper on the top, and then you just push them down like that. Lots and lots of seasoning. I tend to not put salt on them until they are basically in the pan. Yeah. All right?
And then you've got meat to look after these, dear.
What's that, darling? Can you look after those for me? All right, OK. How did you know I wanted you to do that? All right. All right.
So I know, because charity thing is, you're just not just doing that for the swimming. What else are you... Because you're up to... Is that what you're doing the charity event for?
Yeah, I'm doing it for Planet, which is pancreatic, liver, abdominal, and...
How intense is the training for you?
It's not too bad. It's about 3 to 4 days a week. And I do... The long swim is on a Sunday, and then in the week you kind of do medium swims. Yeah. My hair's suffering with the chlorine, but what can you do? Right, okay.
No pain, no gain.
Absolutely.
Right, so we've got our burgers over here.
They're looking good, man. So
you happy with that?
Yeah, I'm really, really happy. So we're ready to serve up. So what
that quick then, right?
Yeah. So we're just going to have a look. Sour cream.
What have you got in there? What have you done
A little bit of black pepper, because I like black pepper and sour cream.
That wasn't on my list of things to do. What is that?
It's just sour cream. And that's going to be for my chilli. Yeah. All right. The sour cream, guacamole.
Lovely.
So obviously, if you're vegan, you're not going to eat sour cream, but you are going to go for... Well, actually, you can get that vegan sour cream now. Have you tried that? But you could...
I tried that.
All right. I know that...
Maybe January 2024, but...
Right, let's have a look at the chilli. Let's get the chilli out, the one that's there.
This is this.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
And what is you've got something else in here.
I've got some chips in there. So I'm just going to mix this together. So you've got the black beans are just warmed through.
These black ones look great with the tomatoes, though, because the colour's nice and dramatic,
because I'm always thinking about colour, you know, when you're... The garlic you can just mash up.
I know Jonathan is when he comes on this show as well. I know he is.
All right, now, I warn you, this is quite hot.
Excellent.
But you've got the guac and you've got the sour cream. Or you could use Greek yoghurt if you didn't want to use sour cream. And then just to finish off, just... lots and lots of fresh coriander.
I like the idea of putting the beans on all in together. But I love the idea of the sugar and the chilli.
It just brings out... I mean, it's tomatoes this time of year. It's not a great time of year for them, is it?
The sun blush ones. You've used the sun blushed as well, because
they've got the flavour.
Amazing, intense flavour as well.
So I'm just going to taste it to make sure I'm happy. You've done a very good job.
Where do you want the chips?
Just put the chips in that bowl. Thank you so much.
I can do the chips. I like being put to work on this show. You see,
That's why I
put you in your place, you see.
Whoa!
Bit of a kick.
That's hot, but it's lovely. And the freshness of the coriander going in there, all those beautiful colours. Now, darling, get the chips on there. Oh, thank you. Is that for me?
I can see you suffering.
Pile the chips. Oh, now, look at this. Now, what we need, James, is a bit of paper for you to pile and put a bit of paper on there. I think I cut some just there. Yeah. And pile your burgers on.
Oh, pile them on here?
Yeah, pile them on here.
Right, OK, got it.
All right, so just pile them up, and you've got this lovely red, lush chilli. And we have now... You've done it. Absolutely beautiful. We have...
Juices.
Beautiful
It's a little chefy touch. I can't get rid of it.
Oh, no, I'm not putting that on the top. It doesn't need it. You've done a fabulous job.
Amazing.
There you have it.
So give us the name of this dish, then.
Deconstructed chili con carne, served with guacamole, sour cream and chips.
How was that? She's on a mission today. Easy as that. Leslie, everybody. Amazing. Right, I'll let you plate a little bit up for Jonathan there.
All right, OK, so let's give you some of this. So
I think that's a great tip with the particularly the vinegar and the sugar, isn't it? It's
Absolutely.
really nice.
Yeah,
And it
just helps
caramelised
to
in there as
bring
well.
out that flavour. I'm going to... Can I use my fingers? You don't mind.
Please,
do you?
please do.
And I'm just going to put a little bit of that on, because I love
have it.
guac
Yeah,
with the
me
sour
too.
cream.
Smashed burgers. What's your son's name? Should we
Isaac.
give him a name check?
Isaac McPherson. Right, there you go.
Thank you so much.
Bon
It's
appetit.
wonderful.
So these, I mean, yeah, I've got, and we're going to dive in. We'll just use our
Yeah.
fingers for this bit.
Yeah, all right.
The chips in there.
Taste this, see what you think.
I'm going to go into this first. Mmm. Absolutely gorgeous. I love that.
When was the last time you had a chip?
2021, I think. It's been a while. Oh, so crunchy, fabulous.
Yeah, exactly. That is delicious, really. Then Leslie, everybody.
Thank you.
Right, we've got time for one more final recipe this morning, so join us again in a couple of minutes. We'll be serving up a delicious chicken chasseur for my guest, Greg Rutherford. I'll see you in a bit. It's delicious, that.
It really is.
The last part of the show, sadly. But I'm back in the kitchen. That was a very good half, by the way. But I'm back in the kitchen with Leslie, Jonathan, and my guest, Greg Rutherford. So, you've all just devoured it. We've eaten everything today. We've eaten everything. So, the steak as well. There's everything. You're beautiful. Oh, that was lovely, the little chilli. But I thought we'd finish things off with a classic chicken chasseur, because it's one of these dishes that I haven't done for so long. And when I was looking at the list of things that you loved, I thought, this is it. Chicken stew. I thought, I'm going to do this one.
Absolutely.
So, to portion up the chicken, we've got the chicken, the eye, the oysters. You need to remove that out. So, you just take that. Leslie, if I can take your butter in there, and I'm going to give you the pieces of chicken, and we're going to colour this really, really well. So in we go with the chicken. That's going to go in there, and we're going to basically just break that like that. Take the eye of the chicken out, which is this, because you want it still attached to the thigh, and then we're going to cut that through, and you've got chicken thighs and that. This one here, you make a little V either side, slice that through, that one comes off.
Yeah.
That goes in there. Slice that through that side, all the way through. That one comes off in there, which leaves you just this carcass. And then what we can do is cut either side of here. So I've portioned up an entire chicken by not cutting through any bone whatsoever. It's all through joints. See, I studied biology at school. I wasn't very good at it. Mind you, I failed cookery at school. It's not a good start to go on, is it?
I
Really?
didn't do very well at school on that either.
But then you just put that on there, and then you've got a carcass that you can roast off your stock.
Look at that.
Easy as that. That's
Very
that one.
impressive, that.
No, two people were
speed
impressed
of it.
anyway. But anyway,
Speed of it.
if you like, most of this crew in here would just go buy it from the supermarket already pre-done. But that's how you get it done.
Nah, that was very good.
So we talked earlier about Dancing on Ice, because Dancing on Ice is on tomorrow night.
It is, first show.
And how are you feeling about that? Because, you know, trepidation, you've got a new partner as well for this one.
I do. I'm slightly more nervous that you've just reminded me that it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
But no, really. So I'm with the incredible Vanessa James, and it's her first year on the show as well.
Well, she must be nervous as well.
Well, yeah, well, she got me, so bless her, so that poor thing. but she, as a skater herself, and she's one of, like, the all-time greats. medalist, like been to 4 Olympics, European champion, world medalist, like unbelievable. And then she got lumped with me.
But what's that like with the two of you? Because both Olympians, you're both highly competitive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no sandpit at the end of the ice rink. That's my issue. Yeah. But it's one of those... No, you just... I think where I always have not an advantage... Advantage is the wrong word, but I don't... Well, maybe advantage is the right word, actually.
It is.
It's jolly good. It is.
Well, it's always that mindset, right? So for me, if something hurts a bit or I don't quite get it right, I'm always pushing to get it there where I need it to be. And that's what I always had. And I'm very good at being coached, I think, because I spent my entire career being told what I'm doing wrong.
But that's the entire career. You've had years and years and years doing this. You've got months, weeks.
Yes, so I've had to learn very, very quickly. And, I mean, we'll see. I'm not going to give too much away, but I'm pretty sure they're going to show this tomorrow. I may take a fall very early on when we all get together as a group. And, the pain that I was in, I genuinely thought I'd broken my head.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. So just to recap, we've got here, we've got the onions in there with the lardons, the tomato puree goes in at this point, really. That's the key to it. Cook it out with the tomatoes. Put the chicken back in. So we can put the chicken back in now when you're ready. We've got the mushrooms as well. There we can go then. You can slice the mushrooms if you want, but put the whole chicken back in. That's it. Chicken all goes in. You need to brown off the chicken really well. Remember, I showed you how to make that stock earlier as well. That's using that carcass, so we've actually kept some of that stock for this. In we go with the white wine. Good glug of white wine, and then we can take some stock over here as well. So all that beautiful dark stock. Now,
lid on, sir.
Put the lid on it. I don't season it. Put the lid on it. This goes over here, and then we pop it in the oven. You can put it on the stove if you want, but I pop it in the oven for about 45 minutes. After about 20 minutes, take the lid off. And it'll brown the chicken. Now, that'll do two things. It'll brown the chicken, but also reduce down the liquid. Of course. Because by reducing down the liquid, you intensify the flavour. Otherwise, it's just going to sit there and stew. Mashed potato over here. I'm going to just add a little bit of cream to this. We've got the best mashed potato. This will slow you down tomorrow night.
I'm worried now, actually.
Ricky Hatton's been on the phone going, put more in, put more in. Slow him down a bit.
Do you want me to stick that in a bag?
We've got equal quantities, mashed potato, cream and butter.
I mean, it's just all the goodness, right?
This is what you need for your bobsleigh thing. I think a 4-man bobsleigh team my size, you'd have gone flying.
But that was a really interesting... When I did the bob, I had to put on weight, so I had to add on probably about 6 or 7 kilos. This is a bobsleigh diet.
You're sat next to a gentleman that's
lost my calling.
6.5 stone. He's lost 6.5 stone. So we've got on here. We're going to take our onions. Now these onions, they've become a little bit controversial. These over my cooking shows over the years. But you can buy these. I keep saying to people, these come in frozen. And they're little baby onions. They're fantastic. They're not pickling onions. They are, but you wouldn't pickle these because they're already frozen. But what you want to do, they're a great way to finish off a little dish. So if you wanted anything like this, where you don't want the big chunky onions, you can finish it off with this. And you take these little pearl onions, and we can fry them off in a pan. They're just fantastic. There's so many great sauces, beef bourguignon, that kind of stuff. This is amazing. All the lovely little French classics. And while they're browning, we can turn our attention to these. This is a little bit of tomato concasse. These have been peeled and de-seeded. This is the classic sort of garnish, I suppose, with chicken sauce. When you chop it all up, you end up with pieces of this, which goes in here as well, like that. Goes in there. And what about yourself? When all this dies down, what about as an Olympic sportsman? A lot of you go into business afterwards. A lot of you go into coaching, particularly sort of not just media coaching, but life coaching, which I think is amazing. Is that something you want to do? Is it?
Well, yeah, something to talk about. No, me and my best friend, we acquired a business from America, actually, just earlier last year. So it's just a very healthy, caffeine-based powder, basically. It sort of fit us perfectly. It's something me and him had talked to. He was an Olympic medalist himself as well in the 400 relay back in 2008.
Right.
And we'd come up, over the last 20 years, we've probably come up with about 50,000 different businesses that we're going to do together.
Right. You must have been to a lot of these events. I don't so often go now. Now you get older, you don't get invited to them. But when you're in London, you go to these sort of black tie dinners and these fancy dinners.
A lot.
You get the ex-rugby players, the sportsman who stands up, and it's quite a motivational thing. I'm sat there listening going, these people are amazing, not just at their sport, but great. You're always great communicators.
Well, yeah, do you know what? I think you have to be. When you're involved in sport, you have to have that ability to have those conversations, because you're always learning, and it's one of those things that you might tell me I need to do something, but I need to have that conversation.
Well, don't worry, he'll tell you if you need to do something. I know him.
I think there's a big expectation from a sports person, actually more than most people. Because you've achieved so much and you know, have proven your dedication to something. Yeah. We, as an audience, do expect quite a lot from you. Just saying.
Yeah.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you. Tomorrow would be great then, yeah. No, but it is one of those things. And do you know what? So I do a lot of after-dinner speaking and those sorts of things as well. And I try and make it a little bit more relatable. And as I say, with myself, people talk about the fact that I became Olympic champion, which is now a lifetime ago. But I've been to a few Olympics. It didn't always work out. I had so many
quite nice to say that I used
else.
to be an Olympic champion, isn't it?
I've been to a few.
I like to claim that you're always one once you are one, forevermore.
Yes, good answer.
Greg,
no, but
please tell me. I've got 2 awards in my life. A Good Housekeeping Woman's Best Friend of the Kitchen 2010, which I really like. TV Choice magazine thing. I've got that.
Very good.
And they're in my toilet. Where's your medals?
Do you know what? They're just in a safe at the moment.
Come on, they need
and
to
it's
be
so sad. No, it is, because I need to put them on the wall.
No,
the
they
problem
need
is,
to.
the
They need
kids
to be in
will
the
destroy
loo.
them.
They need to be in the loo.
Yeah, it's true. But
That's where you need to...
Actually, that's a good place to put them, I think.
Well, there you
Where I
go.
put my Oscars.
Well, I don't know how you get from that back onto chicken chasseur, but there we go. It's a tenuous thing.
Seamless.
There we go.
Seamless.
So there you go. So there we have it, a classic version of an ultimate classic dish, a classic chicken chasseur. Easy. Greg, that's yours.
Oh, thank you
Meanwhile,
very much.
I'll continue. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Take a little bit of that. Take a little bit of the sauce with it over the top. Dive in. Tell me what you think. Don't wait for anybody.
All right, fine. I'm not waiting. I'm not.
No, yeah,
Politeness
just go for it. Bit of that. I'll let you. There you go. That's that one.
There you go.
What do you rate to that?
Thank you so much.
There you go. See, this is what I think. When you're serving it, I think it should look like this, sort of the texture. I think too many times, like you said, when you have this, when you're doing it at college, and it becomes really thick, and that's how you're supposed to do it. I don't agree with that. I think it's got to be like that sort of texture.
Totally agree. Shall I leave that there?
Fire away.
It's very good. Nice hit the tarragon and everything else. Beautiful.
There we go. To end a beautiful show. That's it. That's all we've got time for. A massive thank you to all my guests. Leslie Waters, Jonathan Pang, and, of course, Greg Rutherford. And not forgetting Keisha and that amazing liqueur that we had earlier on in the show as well. That was incredible as well. I'll see you back at the same time next Saturday morning. We'll be joined by more top chefs, other brilliant guests. Until then, take care, stay safe. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now. That is delicious.
McDelivery? You in?
I'm in.
I'm in. McSpicy. Medium meal. Yeah. I'm in.
I'm in. McCrispy. We're in.
Oh, fries for me.
Wait, did someone say fries? I'm in.
I'm in.
Yeah, I well fancy a fillet of fish.
Expand your palate.
Big Mac. Mayo chicken. Double cheeseburger. I'm in.
There's nothing quite like a McDelivery. You in? Oh, I'm in.